She couldn't breathe from pain until the cowboy laid her down and whispered, "Let me help." The sun beat down on the dusty red plains of the outer frontier, making the horizon shimmer like heat waves on a distant desert world. Small dust devils twisted across the cracked metallic soil, carrying sparks of static electricity that made the air hum faintly. In the middle of this harsh landscape, a lone figure stumbled. She clutched her chest, her breathing ragged, sweat running down her temple, mingling with the grit on her skin. Her name was Alara, a trader traveling between settlements on the edge of the galaxy. She had spent weeks moving delicate cargo across asteroid belts and barren planets, navigating dangerous routes to bring rare supplies to scattered towns. But now, her strength was failing her. Pain seared through her chest with every breath, and her knees buckled as she tried to reach the small frontier town ahead. She stumbled forward, barely catching herself on the edge of a sun-scorched crate. Her vision blurred, the distant buildings twisting into unrecognizable shapes. She gasped for air. Each inhale burned. Panic threatened to overtake her, but she tried to focus. She had faced dangers before: pirates, asteroid storms, mechanical failures, but nothing like this. This was not her cargo that threatened her life. It was her own body betraying her. The town seemed oddly still. A few figures moved in the distance, humanoid silhouettes with alien features, but they gave her wary glances and stepped aside. Their hesitation made her heart pound harder. She knew she could not make it alone. Then, from the horizon, came the steady clip-clop of hooves, or at least something that sounded like hooves. Sparks flew from the metallic sand as a figure approached, riding a hoverhorse that glided smoothly above the ground. The cowboy's silhouette was striking, a long coat flapping in the hot wind, a wide-brimmed hat shading sharp eyes that scanned the area. There was something familiar in the way he moved, calm, confident, precise. Even from a distance, Alara felt hope stir in her chest. The cowboy dismounted smoothly, the hoverhorse settling into a soft hum. He strode toward her, not rushing but not wasting a second either. His gaze took in her trembling form, the sweat streaks, the shallow, pained breaths. Without hesitation, he knelt beside her. "Let me help," he whispered, his voice low but steady, carrying both authority and care. Alara wanted to protest, to push him away, to insist she could manage. But her body refused to cooperate. She slumped against him as he gently lowered her onto the ground. He pulled a compact medkit from his satchel. Unlike anything from Earth, it gleamed faintly with soft blue lights, wires running like delicate veins, tiny needles glinting in the sunlight. He worked quickly, assessing her condition with a mix of frontier instinct and advanced technology. Sensors beeped softly as he pressed a small device to her chest. "Her vitals are unstable," he muttered under his breath, adjusting a tiny dial. "Looks like a strain from overexertion, but something else is affecting her lungs." Alara's breaths came in ragged gasps. She felt both fear and relief at the same time. Fear that she might not make it, relief that someone had come when no one else would. She looked at him through the haze of pain, meeting eyes that were calm, steady, unafraid. There was no judgment, no hesitation, just presence and a promise of help. "Focus on my voice," he said gently, placing a firm but reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Breathe with me." She obeyed, taking slow, shallow breaths as he guided her. It was a small start, but each inhalation was slightly easier than the last. The heat of the sun, the static sparks in the air, the dust, all of it faded around her. For the first time in what felt like hours, she felt a thread of control returning. "Good, that's it," he murmured, producing a vial of glowing liquid. "This should help stabilize your lungs. It's a nano serum, works fast, but you have to relax." She nodded weakly, letting him administer it. The warmth spread through her chest, easing the tightness and dulling the edge of pain. She sighed almost without realizing it as her heart slowed from frantic beats to a steadier rhythm. "Who are you?" she managed, her voice hoarse. He offered a small, enigmatic smile. "Just a traveler like you. Some call me a cowboy. I roam these frontiers, helping where I can." His eyes scanned the horizon again, wary. "But right now, my job is keeping you alive." The townspeople, seeing her condition and his calm efficiency, began to emerge from their hiding spots. A small crowd gathered, murmuring among themselves, unsure but curious. Alara could barely lift her head to acknowledge them, but she felt their attention like a distant hum. The cowboy stood and surveyed the area. "We need to move," he said, scanning for threats. His tone left no room for argument. He bent down, supporting her under her arms, and helped her stand. Her legs shook, but she trusted him completely. Each step was careful, measured, as he guided her toward the edge of the town where his outpost waited. A small structure built into the side of a canyon, a mix of rugged frontier wood and sleek metallic panels, pulsing faintly with energy. As they approached, Alara's breathing became easier. The pain had not vanished completely, but it was manageable. The cowboy led her inside, shutting the door behind them against the desert wind. Inside, the air was cooler, filtered, and faintly scented with herbs and mechanical oils. Shelves held strange devices, jars of glowing plants, and tools both familiar and alien. He guided her to a reclining chair, adjusting cushions behind her back. "Relax. You're safe now," he said. He activated a small device that emitted soft waves, scanning her vitals and adjusting the serum levels automatically. "This should help your body stabilize completely in a few minutes." Alara closed her eyes, letting herself finally surrender to the care she desperately needed. She realized she had been holding tension in every muscle, bracing for pain, bracing for death. But now, with his steady presence and gentle hands, she could let go. Minutes passed, the soft hum of machinery and the cowboy's calm presence creating a strange sense of security. He adjusted her position occasionally, spoke softly to distract her from the lingering pain, and kept a watchful eye on the medkit's readouts. "Why help me?" she whispered, voice barely audible. He smiled faintly, leaning back on his heels. "Because out here we look out for each other. You would do the same if someone needed you." His eyes softened. "Besides, sometimes even a cowboy needs someone to trust." Alara felt a flicker of emotion she hadn't experienced in a long time. She had traveled countless light years, faced dangers both mechanical and human, yet the simple act of someone's care, someone's calm presence, was more powerful than any weapon she had encountered. Outside, the desert winds shifted, carrying sparks of static and the faint calls of distant creatures. Inside, the outpost seemed a haven, a small bubble of warmth, light, and safety in the vast, dangerous frontier. The cowboy kept watch, ensuring that no harm would come, while Alara began to feel strength returning with each slow, steady breath. The first part of her recovery had begun. Pain still lingered, but it no longer controlled her. And for the first time, she realized that perhaps this rugged, mysterious cowboy could be more than just a rescuer. He might be the companion she never knew she needed on the lonely, perilous frontier. The horizon outside shimmered with heat, but inside the outpost a quiet calm settled. For now she was safe. For now she could breathe. And for the first time in hours, she dared to hope. The air inside the cowboy's outpost was cooler now, humming with the quiet rhythm of strange machines and soft lights. Alara sat back in the reclining chair, her chest still tight but her breathing slowly stabilizing. The pain had not vanished, but it no longer felt like it would crush her. She watched as the cowboy moved with ease around the small room, adjusting vials of glowing liquids and checking devices that seemed to pulse in tune with her heartbeat. He had a calm precision in his movements, as if the outpost had been built around this exact purpose, to heal, to protect, and to care. Alara tried to take it all in. Shelves lined with glowing plants, jars of alien herbs, tools that shimmered with energy. It was a strange mix of the rustic frontier and futuristic technology, like a Wild West homestead merged with a space lab. "You'll need more than just the serum," the cowboy said, kneeling beside her. He picked up a small bundle of soft, green leaves. "These are from the canyon outside. They help open the lungs and ease pain. Ancient knowledge, but still effective." Alara raised an eyebrow, her curiosity piqued despite the lingering fatigue. "Ancient knowledge on a desert planet." He smiled faintly, brushing a strand of sweat from her forehead. "Every planet has its secrets. Some are older than the stars themselves, some you just have to listen to." With careful hands, he crushed the leaves and mixed them into a glowing liquid. He handed it to her. "Drink slowly," he instructed. She obeyed, the warm liquid sliding down her throat and spreading a soothing warmth through her chest. She felt the tension ease slightly, her breaths coming easier with each inhale. As she drank, the cowboy settled back on a stool nearby. "You're lucky I happened by," he said softly. "Not everyone makes it this far out." Alara let out a small laugh, the sound weak but genuine. "Lucky. I thought I was a goner." Her eyes met his, and she noticed a subtle intensity in his gaze, not just concern but understanding. as if he had seen too many people fall and had learned to fight for every life that mattered. "You weren't going to die," he replied, his voice firm but gentle. "Not while I was here." A silence fell between them, comfortable yet charged with unspoken words. Alara realized that she had been holding back, keeping herself distant and guarded for too long. The frontier had taught her that trust was a weakness, but now she felt something shift. She dared to lean into it, to let someone else take control, even if just for a moment. "Why help me?" she asked finally, her voice barely above a whisper. The cowboy shrugged, looking around the room as if the walls themselves held part of the answer. "Because out here we take care of each other. That's the way it's always been. Besides," he paused, a faint smile touching his lips, "sometimes even a cowboy needs someone to trust." Alara felt a warmth rise in her chest, not from the serum, but from the words themselves. She wanted to ask more, to know who he was, why he roamed the desert, why he had chosen to help her. But her curiosity was interrupted by a low hum from the med kit. "Vitals are stabilizing," he said, checking the readings. "The serum is working faster than I expected, but we'll need to keep monitoring you. There's something about the air here. It's not like any other planet I've been to. It amplifies stress on the body, especially after long travel." Alara nodded, leaning back as he adjusted the chair. "I was pushing too hard," she admitted. "I thought I could handle the next trade route alone. I didn't expect this." Her voice trailed off, a mixture of embarrassment and relief. "It's not a weakness," he said firmly. "It's human. You're not a machine, no matter how strong you are. Even the toughest travelers need help sometimes." She looked at him, really looked, and saw the scars on his hands, the dust etched into his coat, the faint lines around his eyes that spoke of years spent wandering dangerous territories. There was a story there when he hadn't shared, but she felt its weight. For the first time, she realized that this man, this cowboy, carried more than just survival skills. He carried experience, wisdom, and perhaps even loss. I think I understand now," she said softly. "Why you stopped," he nodded. "Sometimes it's not about where you're going, but who you can help along the way." Hours passed as he continued his careful work. He applied small patches to her chest that shimmered with a faint light, spoke words of encouragement, and adjusted her posture to aid her recovery. Each action was methodical, precise, and strangely intimate, not in a way that crossed boundaries, but in a way that made Alara feel seen, acknowledged, and cared for. As the sun began to lower outside, casting long, golden rays through the outpost windows, the cowboy finally stepped back. "That should do it for now," he said. "You're stable and the pain will continue to ease, but you'll need rest. And tomorrow we'll start rebuilding your strength." Alara let out a sigh, the tension in her shoulders releasing. She felt exhaustion wash over her, but it was a different kind of tired, one that came from relief, not fear. "Thank you," she whispered. He nodded, a faint smile on his lips. "No thanks needed, just rest. You've earned it." She watched him move around the room, organizing supplies and checking instruments. There was a quiet confidence in his actions, a sense that he had done this many times before and would continue to do so, for anyone who needed help. Alara found herself curious, wanting to know more about him, his past, and the mysteries of this rugged desert world. "Can I ask you something?" she said, breaking the silence. "Sure," he replied, pausing mid-step. "Why do you roam?" she asked. "Why help strangers in the middle of nowhere?" He looked out the window at the desert stretching endlessly beyond the town. "Because there's always someone who needs help," he said finally. "And because sometimes it's the only way to keep yourself alive too. You can't stay in one place for too long out here. You learn to move, to protect, and to trust when you have no choice." Alara considered his words, feeling their weight. The frontier was harsh and unforgiving, but there was a rhythm to it, a way of living that demanded courage, care, and sometimes sacrifice. She realized she was beginning to understand that rhythm, guided by someone who had mastered it long before she arrived. As the sky outside darkened, stars beginning to shimmer like distant diamonds, she felt a sense of safety she hadn't known in years. The pain in her chest had dulled, her breathing was steadier, and her mind, though weary, was clearer. She could feel the bond forming between them, subtle but undeniable. Trust was not easy for her, but here, in this outpost, under his quiet care, it felt possible. The cowboy moved to a corner and pulled up a small cot, preparing a place for her to rest. "Sleep now," he said softly. "You need it more than anything else." Alara lay back, letting the exhaustion claim her. She felt the warmth of the patches on her chest, the soft hum of the machines, and the calm presence of the cowboy nearby. For the first time in days, she closed her eyes without fear. Outside, the desert night stretched endlessly, alive with strange sounds and glimmering lights from distant alien flora. But inside the outpost, there was quiet, safety, and care. And as Alara drifted into a deep, dreamless sleep, she knew that tomorrow, with the cowboy by her side, she would face whatever the frontier had in store. The morning sun crept over the jagged canyon ridges, painting the desert in pale gold and orange. Inside the outpost, the faint hum of machines and the scent of alien herbs filled the air. Alara stirred, feeling the last traces of pain fade from her chest. She had slept deeply, the cowboy's presence beside her giving a strange sense of security she had not known in years. He was already awake, moving quietly through the room, checking devices and scanning the horizon with a small telescope-like instrument. His eyes were sharp, alert to every shadow and movement outside. Even in this calm moment, there was a tension beneath his ease, a readiness that made Alara sit up a little straighter. "Morning," she said, her voice hoarse but steady. "Morning," he replied, glancing over his shoulder. "How are you feeling?" "Better, much better," she admitted, flexing her shoulders carefully. "The pain is almost gone." He nodded, satisfied, and handed her a small cup filled with a warm, glowing liquid. "This will help strengthen your lungs." "Drink slowly." She obeyed, feeling the warmth spread through her chest, leaving her lighter and more focused. "Thank you for everything," she said softly. He shrugged, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. "Just doing my job." "You'd have done the same for someone else if you had the chance." Before she could respond, the faint whirring of engines reached their ears. At first it was distant, almost like wind, but then the sound grew louder, accompanied by the metallic clatter of hooves, or perhaps hover horses. The cowboy's eyes narrowed as he moved to the window, scanning the horizon. "Not good," he muttered. "We have company." Alara felt a knot of fear in her stomach, but it was tempered by the calm in his voice. She followed him to the edge of the outpost, peering out. Across the golden plains, a group of figures approached swiftly. They rode strange machines, combining hovering technology and old-fashioned saddles. Their leader wore a dark coat, face partially hidden under a wide-brimmed helmet that glinted in the morning sun. Weapons glimmered at their sides. "They're after your cargo," the cowboy said, his tone steady. "And they won't leave without it." Alara's stomach tightened. Her shipment contained rare supplies, and these strangers, rogue star riders as he called them, would not hesitate to take it by force. She tried to think quickly, but her strength was still returning. "You need to stay inside," he instructed, moving behind her protectively. "I'll handle them out there." "I can help," she said, though her voice wavered slightly. "I may not be strong, but I know these plains." "I can assist." He considered her for a long moment, then nodded. "Good. Stick close, follow my lead, and don't take unnecessary risks." The first rider leapt from the horizon, hovering slightly above the sand, aiming a weapon at the outpost. Sparks flew from the sand as the hovercrafts landed closer, creating small whirlwinds of dust. The cowboy drew a long, rifle-like weapon, built for both precision and power. He aimed carefully and fired, the shot striking the ground just ahead of the attackers, sending them skidding and throwing sparks into the air. Alara's heart raced, but she remembered his words, "Follow his lead." She picked up a small energy pistol from the table, unsure of its full power, but ready to do what she could. The attackers regrouped, moving in coordinated patterns, surrounding the outpost with ruthless efficiency. The cowboy shouted instructions, pointing out weak spots in their approach. "Alara, cover the left side, I'll take the center." She nodded, gripping her weapon tightly. Taking a deep breath, she aimed at one of the approaching Star Riders. The energy shot flew from the pistol, striking the hovercraft's control panel and forcing it to wobble dangerously. Sparks flew, and the rider stumbled, giving the cowboy an opening to fire and disable another machine. The desert echoed with the sounds of combat, shots, sparks, the low hum of machines, and the cries of frustrated attackers. Alara realized that despite her fear, she felt a strange exhilaration. She was not helpless, she was part of this fight, contributing to their survival. The cowboy moved like a shadow, precise and calm amidst the chaos. He used the terrain to his advantage, leaping onto ridges, firing, and ducking behind rocks that glimmered faintly with alien minerals. His experience was unmatched, and Alara quickly learned to anticipate his movements. Together, they formed a silent rhythm, He would fire, she would cover his flank, and the attackers faltered under their coordination. Hours seemed to pass in minutes. The rogue Star Riders were relentless, but the cowboys' tactics were effective. He forced them into tight spaces, using traps and small energy bursts to slow their advance. Alara, gaining confidence, used her knowledge of the desert terrain to create small hazards, hidden pits, sharp mineral edges that threw the attackers off balance. Finally, the leader of the gang moved forward, a dark figure riding atop a powerful hoverbeast, its metallic hooves pounding the sand. He raised a weapon aimed at Alara. The cowboy reacted instantly, firing a shot that struck the weapon midair, forcing it aside. Alara ducked, her pulse racing, and realized that this man was not just skilled, he was dangerous. The cowboy moved beside her. "Stay low, watch my signals." His voice was calm, but every movement was calculated, every shot precise. Together, they forced the leader back, using a combination of skill, timing, and quick thinking. The hoverbeast reared, sparks flying from its hooves as it lost balance. The leader yelled commands, but the cowboy's sharp eye caught every move, and within moments the attackers began to retreat, their formation broken, machines damaged. Alara's chest heaved, not from pain, but from adrenaline. The threat had been intense, terrifying even, but together they had survived. The last of the attackers sped away across the plains, leaving a trail of dust behind them. The cowboy lowered his weapon, breathing steadily, eyes scanning the horizon to ensure they were truly gone. "You okay?" he asked, turning to her. I think so," she said, still trembling but exhilarated. "I didn't know I could do that," he smiled faintly. "You did well, better than I expected for someone just recovering. You've got courage, and now you've got experience too." They surveyed the damage outside the outpost. Small scorch marks dotted the sand, and a few supplies had been damaged, but nothing irreparable. Her cargo, thankfully, remained safe. The sense of relief was tangible. Alara realized something she hadn't before. The cowboy was not just a rescuer. He was a teacher, a guide, and now, in the heat of battle, a partner. Their bond, which had begun in quiet care, had deepened under fire. Trust had been forged not only through healing, but through shared danger and teamwork. The sun climbed higher, glinting off the metallic sand and the outpost's walls. The desert was calm once again, the earlier chaos fading into distant echoes. But Alara knew that the frontier was never truly safe. There would be more challenges, more dangers lurking beyond the horizon, yet now she felt ready. She had someone by her side she could trust, someone whose skills and presence made her feel capable, even against impossible odds. "Tomorrow we'll make repairs and check the cargo," the cowboy said, breaking her thoughts. "And then we figure out who's behind these attacks." "They won't give up easily." Alara nodded, her gaze firm. She had faced fear, felt pain, and survived, not just because of the cowboy, but because she had learned to act alongside him. For the first time, she felt like she belonged somewhere, even if it was a harsh desert on a distant planet. As the sun rose fully over the canyon ridges, casting long shadows across the plains, the cowboy and Alara stood together, surveying the quiet desert. Sparks from the distant horizon hinted at the adventure yet to come, but for now they had won this battle. They had proven their courage, their skill, and their trust in one another. And in that moment, amidst the ruins of the day's confrontation, Alara understood that this was only the beginning, not just of their journey across the frontier, but of a partnership that could endure anything the galaxy threw at them. The desert sun hung high, scattering gold across the plains as the air shimmered with heat. Inside the outpost, calm had returned. The cowboy moved quietly, inspecting the repairs they had made to the outpost's outer walls, patches of scorched sand now cleared and the glowing energy shields humming softly. Alara watched him from the chair she now sat in, her chest and lungs finally free from the lingering pain that had plagued her just days ago. "You're up early," she said, her voice soft but steady. She felt stronger than she had in a long time, her body slowly regaining its natural rhythm. He glanced over his shoulder, a faint smile touching his lips. "Habit. Can't let the frontier get the best of you. Besides, we have work to do." Alara nodded. She rose carefully, testing her legs, feeling the desert energy hum faintly through the floor. For the first time since arriving, she felt ready, not just to recover, but to face the challenges that lay beyond these walls. The cowboy handed her a tool that looked part hammer, part energy calibrator. We start with the cargo. Some of it took minor damage. We need to fix it before the next shipment leaves. She took it, feeling a thrill of purpose. Even after the intense battle the day before, there was a rhythm to this work. Repairs, adjustments, careful hands on fragile items, all part of surviving the frontier. And now, for the first time, she wasn't alone. She had someone beside her who not only protected her but taught her, guided her, and trusted her to act. Together, they worked in quiet synchronization. Her hands grew steadier as she learned to handle the advanced tools. He explained techniques, not just showing her, but letting her try and correct mistakes. She marveled at his knowledge of the alien technology, how he combined centuries-old frontier skills with futuristic innovation. As they worked, their conversation drifted to safer topics. The desert canyons, the glow of the bioluminescent minerals, the curious creatures that scuttled along the edges of the plains at night. Laughter started to return, small moments of lightness in the otherwise harsh life of the frontier. Ilara realized how rare it was to find someone who could mix danger with comfort, battle with calm, and still make her feel seen. By mid-afternoon, the cargo was repaired, stacked neatly and glowing softly with protective energy fields. The outpost was quiet, save for the hum of machines and the occasional gust of wind outside. Ilara wiped her hands, feeling the satisfaction of work well done. "You did good today," the cowboy said, his tone low, almost private. He leaned against a table, eyes on her as she adjusted a small crate. "I didn't expect you to pick it up so quickly." She smiled faintly, feeling a rush of pride. "I guess I just had good instruction." He nodded, his expression unreadable for a moment, then softened. "It's more than instruction. You've got grit. You've got focus. You're not just surviving, you're learning to thrive out here." Ilara felt a warmth rise in her chest. The frontier was harsh, unyielding, and often lonely. Yet, in this outpost, with this cowboy beside her, she felt a rare sense of belonging. She realized that trust and courage could coexist, that danger did not always have to be faced alone. They stepped outside together as the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the canyon. The desert air was cooler now, carrying faint scents of alien flora and the sharp tang of mineral dust. In the distance, she could see the faint outlines of the rogue Star Riders' retreat, the last traces of sparks from their battle yesterday still lingering in her mind. But now, those memories felt distant, manageable. "Tomorrow, we move forward," he said, scanning the horizon. "We find out who sent them, and we make sure they don't come back." Ilara nodded, feeling a determination she hadn't known in weeks. "I'm ready," she said. "I'll stand with you." He looked at her, eyes steady and assessing. "Good, because out here we depend on each other." As night fell, the stars above the canyon began to shimmer like diamonds scattered across black velvet. Alien constellations glimmered in patterns unfamiliar to Earth-born eyes, painting the sky with hints of stories long past. Ilara felt a quiet awe, the kind that came from seeing the universe vast, endless, and alive. They set a small campfire outside the outpost, its warm glow casting soft light on their faces. The cowboy roasted some of the protein packs they carried, the aroma mingling with the desert breeze. Ilara watched him work, noticing the ease with which he moved, even after the intense fight from the day before. He was a survivor, a guide, and now undeniably someone she could rely on. She poured herself a small cup of warm tea from one of the glowing jars, inhaling the faint scent of alien herbs. The warmth spread through her chest, a gentle reminder of the healing and care she had received. "Do you ever get used to this?" she asked quietly, nodding toward the endless desert stretching around them. "The danger, the solitude, the responsibility." He chuckled softly, eyes reflecting the firelight. "You learn to respect it, not get used to it. The desert teaches you, shapes you. It doesn't give comfort, only clarity, and only those who pay attention survive." Ilara sipped her tea, letting his words sink in. She realized that she had learned a lot in just a few days, not just about survival, but about trust, courage, and connection. She had faced danger and pain, and now she understood that life on the frontier was not just about enduring. It was about finding allies, building strength, and daring to hope. The cowboy watched her, noticing the shift in her posture, the calm in her eyes. "You've changed," he said quietly, "stronger than when you arrived." "I had a good teacher," she replied with a faint smile, feeling the bond deepen between them. They sat together in silence for a while, watching the stars come alive one by one, the desert quiet except for the distant sounds of alien wildlife and the whisper of the wind. In that moment, danger felt far away, replaced by a fragile peace. But even in peace, the cowboys' eyes were alert. The rogue Star Riders had retreated, but they would return if the cargo remained valuable. Alara understood this instinctively. The frontier always demanded vigilance, and yet, for the first time, she did not feel alone. She had someone to watch her back, to guide her, and to face the dangers alongside her. The night deepened, and they finally retreated into the outpost, the soft glow of lights casting shadows on the walls. Alara settled into a comfortable cot, feeling her body finally relax completely. The cowboy stayed nearby, checking the last instruments and securing the outpost for the night. Before she drifted off to sleep, she whispered quietly, more to herself than to him, "Thank you for letting me breathe again, for everything." He glanced at her, a faint smile on his lips, then returned his attention to the instruments. "Sleep well. Tomorrow we face the frontier together." Outside, the desert night stretched endlessly, stars glittering like scattered jewels across the sky. The canyon walls glimmered with faint alien light, a reminder that even in the harshest places, beauty could exist. For Alara, hope had returned with the cowboys' care and courage. She knew the frontier would always challenge her, but she no longer feared it alone. As sleep claimed her, the first hints of dawn began to glow along the canyon ridges. The desert would wake soon, alive with challenges, adventures, and unknown dangers. But for now, there was calm, there was safety, and there was trust, a bond forged through pain, courage, and care that would carry them through whatever the frontier had in store. The story did not end with a promise of ease or comfort. The desert had no mercy for the unprepared. But for Alara and the cowboy, it offered something more valuable: partnership, resilience, and a shared courage that could withstand even the harshest trials. And as the light of the new day crept across the plains, they knew that together they could face anything.